again, going back to the relationship between certain members of the family and the tabloid press, those certain members have...
Prince Harry joining forces with Prince William to avenge Diana would be the one royal moment Camilla could never fully prepare for, because this is not about shouting, revenge, or a public attack. It is about two sons standing under the weight of their mother's memory at the exact moment the monarchy tries to present unity. That is what makes this so tense. For years, William and Harry have been divided by distance, anger, interviews, silence, and palace pressure. But Princess Diana remains the one name both brothers still carry in the same way. She is the wound the crown could never close, and the memory no royal ceremony can fully control. So when Camilla stands inside that same royal frame, the past does not stay buried. The question becomes impossible to ignore. Did Harry and William finally turn Diana's memory into a united royal warning? And why did this become Camilla's darkest day in years? The royal procession entered St. Giles's Cathedral beneath stone arches and the sound of ceremony. William arrived as Prince of Wales, the title Charles had held beside Diana, and which now placed her eldest son inside the future she once prepared him for. Camilla entered as Queen. Her place had been settled by law, ceremony, and the late monarch's support. But the calendar carried a different authority. Diana's 65th birthday had already begun appearing in headlines, tributes, photographs, and family memories. William could not enter the cathedral without the date following him. Camilla could not stand beside him without the comparison returning. Diana's birthday had drawn her sons together before. On July 1, 2007, William and Harry organized the concert for Diana at Wembley Stadium. They wanted the day to remember her energy rather than only the crash that killed her. 14 years later, on July 1, 2021, they unveiled her statue at Kensington Palace. The date had become theirs. A birthday changed into a public act of protection. William made no attack on Camilla in Edinburgh. He did not need to. The image carried its own tension, Diana's son standing beside the woman whose relationship with Charles had become permanently tied to his mother's unhappiness. Camilla had gained the crown Diana never wore. William still carried Diana into the line of succession. That difference followed the family through the service. The ceremony could present unity, but not remove the history beneath it. The day became darker for Camilla because the contrast was not created by gossip. It came from positions everyone could see. Charles was king. Camilla was queen. William was the future monarch. Diana was absent. Yet the entire arrangement had been shaped by her life. The photographs moved across the world. But the real pressure had begun the previous day, when William returned publicly to one of the first lessons his mother had given him. Royal Week normally displays order. This service carried unfinished emotion. William represented the future crown. Camilla represented Charles's final choice. Diana's birthday reminded everyone that the path between those positions had passed through a broken family. On June 30, 2026, William marked the third anniversary of Homewards. The 5-year program was designed to make homelessness rare, brief, and unrepeated in 6 British areas. Its beginning still led back to Diana. William was 11 when she took him to the Passage, a homeless charity in London. Diana did not explain homelessness through a report. She placed him beside people living through it. That memory stayed. William turned it into one of his largest social programs. He spoke about homelessness as a failure of systems rather than a weakness inside individuals. The approach carried Diana's habit of entering hospitals, shelters, and communities, powerful institutions often viewed from a distance. William took that lesson into policy. Harry carried the same mother in another way. During a gathering connected to Scotty's Little Soldiers, Harry spoke with children who had lost a parent serving in the British Armed Forces. Then he described how his own household remembered Diana. Meghan, Archie, and Lilibet marked her birthday and the anniversary of her death with lemon drizzle cake. Diana's grandchildren were growing up in California, far from Kensington Palace and the official royal calendar, but her name remained part of their family year. William had built a national program. Harry had built a family ritual. William worked inside the crown. Harry lived outside it. William spoke through official projects. Harry spoke through personal memory and independent charities. Both returned to Diana's example. That mattered because their relationship had nearly collapsed. Years of accusation and distance had weakened almost every shared bond. Their mother remained the ground neither had surrendered. They could defend her influence without repairing their relationship. One son carried Diana into British public policy. The other carried her into a home across the Atlantic. The next part of their united front had been even clearer. It came on one night in May 2021, when an official report exposed how Diana had been deceived. Diana taught both boys that grief should not close them off from suffering. William applied that lesson to housing insecurity. Harry applied it to bereaved children. They no longer shared a household or public platform, yet the same maternal lesson directed their work from two countries. The Lord Dyson investigation was published on May 20th, 2021. Its findings returned Britain to the night of Diana's most famous television interview. For years, the program had been treated as a moment when she chose to reveal the damage inside her marriage. Martin Bashir had used deceptive conduct to gain access to Diana through her brother, Charles Spencer. Forged bank statements encouraged fears that people around her were being paid to betray her. The BBC's later handling of the matter failed to meet the standards expected from the broadcaster. William responded in a recorded statement. He said the methods used on Diana had contributed to her fear, paranoia, and isolation. He believed the interview had damaged her relationship with the royal family and worsened the final years of his parents' marriage. Then William demanded a consequence. The program should never be broadcast again. He wanted the interview removed from future use because the way it had been obtained had destroyed its legitimacy. Harry answered separately. He thanked those who had accepted responsibility and called accountability the first step toward justice and truth. He connected the treatment of Diana to a wider culture of exploitation that continued after the interview and followed her until her death. They spoke separately, but reached the same conclusion. A powerful institution had entered their mother's fear, increased it, broadcast the result to millions, and then protected itself for years. Both sons demanded accountability. William could speak as the future king. Harry could speak as the son who had left the institution. William spoke from inside the monarchy. Harry spoke beyond its control. The report also reopened the part of Diana's life most dangerous for Camilla. The interview had not discussed the press alone. It had placed Charles, Camilla, marriage, betrayal, and succession before the world. Once William said Diana had been manipulated into deeper isolation, the old three-person marriage could no longer be remembered in the same way. The report arrived weeks before the statue unveiling planned for Diana's 60th birthday. William and Harry were already preparing to stand together in her name. Dyson's findings gave the appearance another purpose. They would honor Diana after an institution finally admitted how badly she had been failed. Diana recorded the Panorama interview in November 1995 at Kensington Palace. Her marriage was already breaking apart. She and Charles had separated. Bashir entered that vulnerable period with forged documents and false suggestions. Diana was encouraged to believe that people close to her might be reporting on her or receiving money. Then the cameras began. Diana spoke about loneliness, self-harm, bulimia, royal pressure, and the future of the monarchy. She also delivered the sentence that fixed Camilla inside public memory. There were 3 people in the marriage, so it was crowded. Charles loved Camilla. Diana knew. The marriage continued publicly while breaking privately. Millions watched Diana place that pain into the open. When the Dyson findings appeared 26 years later, William changed the meaning of the broadcast. He argued that his mother had not understood the deception surrounding the interview and had never learned the full truth before she died. The program now showed Diana speaking after her fears had been deliberately increased. Harry pushed the meaning further. He connected the interview to a system that profited from vulnerable people, especially women, while escaping responsibility for the damage. Camilla's rise could not remove that connection. She had spent years building a public record around literacy, domestic violence, osteoporosis, and support for charities. They did not replace the image created by Diana's words. Every new examination of the interview returned to the same triangle: Diana, Charles, Camilla. For William and Harry, the issue was not simply that their mother had spoken about the affair. It was that a broadcaster had used deception to reach her at the exact moment she felt most alone. Their answer moved beyond statements. 6 weeks after the Dyson report, both brothers stood inside the sunken garden at Kensington Palace before a permanent image of Diana that no broadcaster, editor, or court official could control. The interview also shaped Camilla's public future. Diana's sentence became the frame through which millions understood Charles's relationship with her. Every return to Panorama reopened the wound. William's condemnation protected Diana while placing renewed pressure on the woman who became Queen Consort. The statue had been commissioned years earlier. William and Harry wanted a permanent memorial inside the home most closely connected to Diana's independent royal life. Kensington Palace had been where she raised them, received visitors, prepared for public work, and lived after separating from Charles. The statue was created by Ian Rank Broadley and placed in the sunken garden. Diana stood with 3 children around her. She was not shown beside Charles. She was not defined through the wedding, divorce, or crash. She was presented through care. On July 1st, 2021, the day Diana would have turned 60, William and Harry arrived together for the unveiling. Harry had left royal duties, and public attention searched every expression for conflict. Diana gave them a reason to stand beside one another. The brothers pulled away the covering together. Their joint statement remembered her love, strength, and character. They described qualities that had made her a force for good and expressed the wish that she were still with them. They were not asking the public to remember Diana only as a wounded wife. They were restoring the woman who comforted patients, challenged fear around AIDS, walked through an Angolan minefield, and made frightened children feel seen. Charles and Camilla were absent. That left Diana's sons in control of the moment. It occupied royal ground permanently, close to the rooms where Diana had lived. William and Harry left separately. Their disagreement continued. The memorial remained. The brothers did not need to become close again before completing it. Diana required a joint decision, and both delivered. William protected her place inside the royal estate. Harry protected his place in telling the public what she meant. The next action came without William beside him. Harry entered a legal battle against the British press and pushed until one newspaper group issued words Diana had never lived to hear. The garden had been redesigned with Diana in mind. Flowers and paths softened the palace setting around the sculpture. Visitors did not meet an image of defeat. They met a mother surrounded by children, moving Diana away from the triangle with Charles and Camilla and back toward the humanitarian identity her sons protected. Harry's legal fight grew from his own treatment by British newspapers. He had watched photographers and reporters become part of the final years of her life. After leaving royal duties, he repeatedly argued that the same culture threatened Meghan and his children. The legal action against newsgroup newspapers moved toward trial. Then, in January 2025, the publisher reached a settlement with Harry. It issued a formal apology for serious intrusion into his private life and acknowledged unlawful activities by private investigators working for the news of the world. The statement also acknowledged intrusion involving Princess Diana. Diana had died in 1997. She could not hear a newspaper group acknowledge the harm attached to the culture surrounding her. Harry heard it in her place. It forced a powerful organization to place responsibility into public words after years in which Diana's private pain had been treated as material. William had already demanded accountability from the BBC. Harry forced accountability from the newspaper world. William used the authority of the future crown and the moral weight of the Dyson findings. Harry used the courts, personal risk, and the independence he gained after leaving the palace. One son said the Panorama interview should never be shown again. The other secured an apology acknowledging intrusion connected to their mother. Accountability from institutions that had used Diana's vulnerability and continued shaping her image after death. The more William and Harry exposed what had been done to their mother, the harder it became to reduce her final years to instability or personal weakness. Diana had been frightened. She had also been deceived. She had been pursued. She had also been exploited. Her sons were forcing that difference into the record. But their shared work could not remain only anger. One organization carrying her name allowed both brothers to continue that part of her legacy without standing in the same room. Harry refused to settle quietly because he believed silence protected powerful publishers. Reaching the apology required money, legal risk, and the possibility of trial. The statement did not restore Diana's privacy. It placed institutional responsibility beside her name, the recognition Harry had pursued when a private apology would have been easier. The Diana Award was created to recognize young people making change in their communities. It became the only major charity established in Diana's name, with continuing support from both William and Harry. In December 2024, the organization marked its 25th anniversary by recognizing 200 recipients from 45 countries. William sent a written message. Harry appeared through a recorded address and spoke with previous winners. Their schedules remained separate. Their mother's name joined them. They were young people confronting bullying, inequality, violence, poor mental health, and problems inside their own communities. The work reflected Diana's belief that attention should move toward those often ignored by powerful systems. William supported the award from inside royal life. Harry continued supporting it after leaving. In May 2025, Harry joined an initiative connecting young leaders with business investment and opportunity. His role showed that Diana's legacy could continue through independent work beyond palace control. William brought the future monarchy. Harry brought freedom from it. That quiet unity placed Camilla in a difficult position. Camilla could support charities, appear beside Charles, and serve the monarchy. She could not become their mother. Every Diana Award ceremony renewed that distinction. Diana's influence appeared through young people across the world, while her sons remained the guardians of the name. By 2026, their united front had taken several forms: a joint statue, separate statements against the BBC, a legal apology from a newspaper publisher, a shared charitable organization, a national homelessness program, a private family ritual in California. None of those actions targeted Camilla directly. Together, they created the darkest pressure around her queenship. Diana's absence had become more visible than Camilla's presence. The award gave Diana a future beyond anniversaries. Each recipient carried her name into schools, neighborhood projects, and campaigns far from Britain. William and Harry were not only protecting memories, they attached Diana to growing work, making her influence harder to contain inside the marriage that once defined public discussion of her. Camilla's path to the crown had taken years. When she married Charles in 2005, palace planning stated that she would use the title Princess Consort when Charles became king. Camilla completed years of royal work. Public hostility softened. Charles made clear that she was central to his life and future reign. Then Queen Elizabeth intervened. On February 5, 2022, in an Accession Day message marking 70 years since she became monarch, Elizabeth expressed her sincere wish that Camilla should be known as Queen Consort when Charles became king. After Elizabeth died, Camilla became Queen Consort. At the coronation of Charles III on May 6, 2023, she was crowned beside her husband inside Westminster Abbey. The title later became simply Queen Camilla. The constitutional journey was complete, but the emotional conflict remained. Camilla could inherit the position beside Charles. She could not inherit Diana's relationship with William and Harry. She could wear ceremonial robes, appear on the balcony, and enter state events as queen. Diana still held the sons. William and Harry continued placing their mother into the future through actions Camilla could not control. The statue stood at Kensington Palace. The Diana Award moved across countries. Homewards carried a lesson Diana had given William. Harry's children learned to mark the grandmother they had never met. The BBC had been forced to answer. A newspaper group had apologized. Her crown itself created the contrast. She held the role Diana had once been expected to occupy. Diana's sons controlled how their mother entered public memory. Those two facts met in Edinburgh on July 1, 2026. William entered the cathedral beside Camilla as the future king. Yet both brothers had already brought Diana into the day. Elizabeth's message protected Charles from beginning his reign with another argument over Camilla's status. It gave the marriage royal approval, yet it sharpened the contrast. Camilla received the title through the crown. Diana retained emotional authority through William, Harry, and the causes they carried. William reached Diana's birthday carrying homewards. Local partnerships were helping people avoid housing crises and testing methods designed to prevent homelessness before it became permanent. He was using royal authority to continue a lesson she had placed before him as a child. Then he entered St. Giles's Cathedral beside Charles and Camilla. The image gathered the three positions most directly shaped by the broken marriage. Charles had become king. Camilla had become queen. William would inherit the crown. Diana's birthday stood over all three. His family's lemon drizzle cake tradition showed that Diana's place had entered another generation. Archie and Lilibet were not growing up around palace memorials, but they knew the important dates connected to their grandmother. William carried Diana through duty. Harry carried her through family. Together, they placed Diana at the center of the day. Camilla's difficulty came from what rank could not control. She possessed the title. Diana possessed the date, the sons, the charities, and the memory attached to the future king walking beside her. The ceremony presented Camilla as part of royal continuity. Diana's legacy exposed the history required to reach it. No one confronted Camilla at the cathedral. The darkness came from comparison. Camilla was alive, crowned, and present. Diana was absent, yet emotionally stronger. Her name moved through William's program, Harry's family, the statue at Kensington Palace, the Diana Award, the Dyson findings, and the newspaper apology. The brothers had avenged their mother by refusing to let the institutions around her control the final meaning of her life. The date acted like a mirror. Camilla's position showed how far she had traveled since public rejection. Diana's sons showed what survived that rise. William did not surrender his mother by standing beside Camilla. Harry did not surrender her by living abroad. Both returned the day to Diana without coordinating an appearance. 10. Harry joined forces with William without returning to royal duty. William joined forces with Harry without repairing their broken relationship. Both sons condemned the BBC after the Dyson investigation. Both commissioned Diana's statue. Both continued supporting the Diana Award. William transformed her lesson about homelessness into homewards. Harry forced a newspaper publisher to acknowledge intrusion involving their mother. Both carried Diana into the lives of children. Their revenge was the recovery of Diana, not an attack on Camilla. The broadcaster that manipulated her faced an official inquiry and public condemnation. The interview that deepened her isolation was rejected by her eldest son. The press culture that invaded private lives was forced into an apology by her younger son. The palace silence surrounding her memory was answered with a statue placed inside Kensington Palace. The humanitarian work interrupted by her death continued through charities, young leaders, bereaved children, and a national housing program. William and Harry could not change August 31st, 1997. They could change what came after it. They could place her values into institutions that would outlive everyone involved in the original conflict. She stood beside Charles as queen. William stood near her as Diana's son and future king. Harry remained outside the cathedral, yet his family remembrance brought Diana into the same public moment. Camilla's crown could settle rank. It could not settle memory. Diana still held the most powerful position inside William and Harry's shared history. She was the mother they had lost, the reason they understood grief, and the name that repeatedly brought them to the same side. Both men protected Diana through the powers available to them. William used royal authority, public duty, and the future crown. Harry used legal pressure, personal testimony, and independence from the institution. Their mother had been manipulated. She had been isolated. She had been pursued. And she had died before the institutions around her were forced to answer fully. William and Harry became that answer. The BBC had to answer. The newspapers had to answer. The palace could not erase her, and Camilla could not inherit the love Diana left inside her sons. The Queen stood inside the ceremony. Diana stood inside the future. Her statue remained at Kensington Palace, her award crossed 45 countries, homewards carried her influence, and Harry's children marked her birthday each year. William and Harry had not reunited as brothers. They had united as sons. And that was the one alliance no crown, marriage, or royal title could take away. The result reached beyond one ceremony. Camilla would continue standing beside Charles. William would continue treating her with public respect. Harry would remain outside the household. But whenever Diana's treatment returned to national attention, both brothers had established the same boundary.